What's up everyone, China Cycling here. You guys may have seen in a previous video, I did an overview of this, the Polygon Helios. That video is up here if you've not seen it. But basically in that video I said, this is a super bike, but we're gonna drop some money onto it and try and make it into a hyper bike. This bike, as you see here, is like a $5,000–6,000 US bike. We're gonna drop around $3,000 US of upgrades onto the bike, but then I'm gonna see if we can do all of those $3,000 of upgrades for free. What do I mean by that? We'll find out later. But yeah, let's start upgrading it. Okay, so before we start the upgrades, we need to see where we are now. So the past few days, I've been doing some testing on this. I've been doing some aero testing with the Ghibli aero sensor, and I've been doing some climbing. And then after we finish upgrades, we compare to see how much performance we've gained. But obviously one area of performance is weight. So we can just quickly throw this on the scales as it is now. So this is with pedals, with bottle cages, with GPS mount, with everything. And that's how we'll measure it later to be fair. So we're on 0 now. Let's see what we're on. 8.040. So 8.040 kilograms, but this actually also has a bit of an upgrade already. So I actually punctured both the tubes. It came with these stock Schwalbe light tubes. I punctured both these, so I put RideNows in there. These things are 105 grams each. The RideNow ones are 24 grams, quick maths. So basically saving around 75 grams per tire already. So that 8.040, we need to add like 150 grams. So we'll call it around 8.2 kilograms. I think that's fair. Okay, so we'll say our starting weight is 8.2 kilograms. What are we going to use to get the weight of this down? So we have all the components behind me, and let's have a look at them one by one. So the first upgrade, and where the most of our money is going to go for this upgrade, is on these, the CRW wheels. You've seen these on the channel before a lot. Obviously, I'll put links down to the video about these wheels if you haven't. There's 4 different sizes to choose from. For this one, I'm going for the CRW CS5055. So a 50mm front wheel and a 55mm rear wheel. So yeah, not crazy deep, but also not a shallow wheel, keeping in tune with the aero themes of this bike. These ones, weighed them, front and rear together, 1,266 grams. And the stock wheels, not sure how much those weigh because we haven't taken them off yet, but I think they're about 1,600 grams. So these should be around a 400 gram saving just with the wheels alone. Obviously, you got other advantages too. Less spokes on the front wheel, should be more aero, but like I say, we're gonna do Ghibli aero testing to see. But yeah, wheels, the first upgrade. So these are like $1,800 and should save us around 400 grams. So yeah, that's number 1. Next up, the handlebar. So handlebar, the stock handlebar, again, an amazing bar, the Vision Metron 5D, a great bar, but it's too wide for me. It's like 400mm wide, right? So this is going to give us lots of weight savings, but also aero savings, because this bar is a 36cm bar from Farsports. So yeah, this is the Farsports F1X. This is the Rolls Royce of Chinese handlebars, if you will. You can see they've now got this snazzy computer mount on there and stuff. That's one of the biggest upgrades of the old F1, but also the F1X comes with a sleek marble effect and these low-key black graphics, so very cool. Also, this is light. I don't know how heavy the stock bar is, but this is just 309 grams with the GPS mount. So that's crazy light. Looking forward to getting that on there. It's going to let me get more aero and should drop some more weight off it as well. Again, not the cheapest bar in the world. This bar retails for $539, but again, that's cheaper than the stock bar on there. So yeah, we'll see how we go with that. Next up on our list of upgrades, so obviously this bike comes stock with full Dura-Ace, including the crankset. So the crankset is the 9200P, the power meter version, but the power meter on there is famous for being not very accurate. So I'm gonna go without power meter and use my Favero pedals, which I use on all my bikes anyway. That's what's on there now. So for the crankset, I don't need a power meter. So I went for the Incolor Skypivot crankset. This crankset with both crank arms and the chain rings, everything, just 534 grams. So again, not sure what the stock one is. We'll wait when we take it off, but I think it's going to drop us around 100 or 200 grams, and also looks bling too. So yeah, this is the Incolor Skypivot crankset with 5034 chain rings, and also it's my length, so 165 cranks. Like I said, the stock bike came with 170 on there, and this is a big advantage of building your own bike or upgrading the bike. You can start to choose all this stuff. So there's lots of videos out there on YouTube these days about people talking the wonders of 165 cranks. So yeah, I definitely recommend looking into that if you're interested. And yeah, the Skypivot cranks will be a good upgrade. Again, not the cheapest in the world, but you know, we're trying to get stuff better than Dura-Ace, so of course you got to spend some money. These cranks are around $600 US, so cheap again. Cheaper than the Dura-Ace cranks that come on here, lighter than the Dura-Ace cranks that come on here, so yeah, we'll see how these go on the bike. Another piece of bling from Incolor that's going to be helping us drop some weight is the Incolor Zoney cassette. So a 12-speed monoblock cassette, looks really, really cool in black. I think it'll match the bike quite well. And a little hint of purple, comes in different colors, but I kind of like this purple one. With the lock ring, this weighs exactly 200 grams on the dot. Again, bike came with Dura-Ace stock. I'm not sure how much the stock one weighs. We'll weigh that when we get it off there. But yeah, this, just 200 grams. I'm fairly sure it's going to be lighter than the stock one, so we'll see. Again, it's lighter than the Dura-Ace stuff, so it's not going to be cheap. This one's $175 US, but again, that's cheaper than the Dura-Ace cassette, so should be cheaper, should be lighter. That's the theme. If you've not spotted now, all of this stuff should be cheaper and lighter than the stock stuff. Then saddle, as I said in the video, the stock saddle this comes with is very average. So I'm going to put on one of my favorite saddles these days, the MVMT saddle. This is the MVMT Gold. This thing weighs just like 64 grams, absolutely crazy, and for me it's comfortable too. A nice big cutout so you don't get any pressure on your junk. Again, a $200 saddle is not the cheapest saddle in the world, but again, we're trying to upgrade a superbike to a hyperbike, so we have got to spend some money. And yeah, the MVMT saddle. This next one, I'm not sure if it counts or not, because the bike as standard doesn't come with bottle cages, right? So I just put these bottle cages on there when I got the bike because I thought they matched. But as we're upgrading the bike, we're upgrading everything. We're going to upgrade the bottle cages as well. So these are the Pertual C10 bottle cages. These things weigh just like 9 grams each, so 18 grams for two. I've got Elite bottle cages on there. We'll see what they weigh when we take them off. Again, these things not cheap, $50 each, so that's $100 of bottle cages. But yeah, we'll see if it adds to the overall weight reduction. Another thing about the stock bike, I said in the review, was the tires were very lackluster. It comes stock with the Schwalbe ones, not the Pro ones. So we're going to be upgrading these to the Maxxis High Road SLs. These are one of my favorite tires these days. I usually run them with tubes, so we're putting RideNow TPU tubes in there as well. A pair of these tires, just 355 grams. Almost half the weight of the stock tires, I assume. Again, we'll see when we take them off. And as I said, we're going to be putting TPU tubes in there. These are the RideNow 24 gram version. There is a 19 gram version, which is ultra light, but for me, I think the 24 gram is kind of like the sweet spot. So yeah, these we sell on Pandapodium. The Maxxis tires we don't sell on Pandapodium, but obviously you can pick up them anywhere you want. So now we've seen everything that's going to go on the bike, it's time to start the fun bit of taking this apart and slowly upgrading all of the things. So yeah, I'm going to hand over to Tom. He can do this upgrade for me, and yeah, we'll come back when it's built. Okay, we are done with the upgrades. Thanks to Tom for building this up, and I can already tell this thing feels a lot lighter. How much lighter? Only one way to tell. Let's get it on the scales of truth. So before we said, basically with the old tubes in, it was around 8.2 kilos. Let's see what we've dropped from 8.2 kilos. Okay, so 6.56 kilos, we'll call it 6.6 kilos. So from 8.2 down to 6.6, we've lost 1.2 kilos. So yeah, 1.2 kilos, obviously off a bike, that's quite a lot, but when you're spending $3,000, you get what you pay for. Okay, so we're 1.2 kilos lighter. We all know lighter bikes usually ride better, but we've got new bars on here, new wheels, new tires, new saddle, everything. So yeah, let's get changed and take it for a ride and see how it rides. Okay, just got back from riding this thing, and this thing is now a weapon. It is crazy the difference it makes. Like, I didn't think it would be that much difference if I'm being honest, but the difference is pretty night and day. I'd say the two biggest differences are the wheels and the handlebar. So the wheels, again, the CRW, as we all know, they're super light, but the rotating mass is exponentially worth more than standard mass on the bike. So dropping weight off the wheels and off the tires, I think the tires are doing a good part too. Dropping weight off the wheels and tires compared to the old Shimano setup has totally changed the bike. How it pulls away from a start, how it climbs the steep stuff, it's all totally night and day different. Doesn't even feel like the same bike. The second biggest change I'd say is the handlebar. Like I said before, I had that 40 centimeter super wide vision integrated bar and stem with a 100mm stem, so a bit crunched up. Now I've gone down to 36 centimeters and my hoods are turned in a little bit, but I've got this big beefy 120mm stem on here, getting nice and stretched out, nice and aero, and that's making all the difference. I can go aero hoods on this thing super comfortably, and in general just totally transformed the way the bike feels. It fits me a lot better now. And that's what I said in the last video, when you buy a complete bike, you usually just get given what handlebar comes with the bike, and you think it's okay, but you don't know what you're missing out until you change something that actually fits you. So yeah, this thing now fits me like a glove, and yeah, much more confidence going down the hill, and it feels quicker too, but we'll do some testing in a minute to see how much quicker. So yeah, totally changed the way the bike handles. If I'm being nitpicky, I'd say one thing we have lost is a bit of comfort. So obviously saddle, we've gone to a fully carbon saddle. Tires, we've gone from 28s down to 25s, and spokes, we've gone from steel spokes to carbon spokes. All three of these things, I think, just chip away at the comfort a little bit. And so as a result, when you add it up, the comfort has gone down quite a bit. It's not unrideable. Like, you guys know me, I always ride bikes that are pretty extreme. I love my Alley Sprint. All my bikes have these saddles on. Like, I'm not a big person for comfort anyway. I don't get uncomfortable on the bike. So for me, it's not a big thing, but if you are a bit of a comfort guy, then I'd definitely maybe stick on the 28s and stick with the padded saddle, and you'll basically be there, and just for a little bit of a weight difference. Yeah, so if I'm being honest, yeah, the comfort has gone down, but for me, that's not an issue because I want a race bike, a hyper bike. Other upgraded things, obviously we changed the crank and the cassette to the Incolor options. They are also doing a good job at taking weight off the bike, but when you're riding, you don't really notice. You know, it's not like the crank feels any stiffer. The crank feels just as stiff as the Dura-Ace one, so no changes there. One other change that I forgot in talking about before, we had to change the bottom bracket as well, because the original bottom bracket is 24mm. This is DUB, so we changed to a side braid bottom bracket as well. The rear cassette, I will say the shifting is not as good as the Dura-Ace cassette. Going up and down the block, it just shifts a bit slower. Like, you get a bit of a ka-dunk, and then the shift on some gears. But is it worth it for the extra performance in weight? You be the judge. For me, I like it because I'm a bit of a weight weenie, but if you are very fussy about your gears and your shifting, I think nothing will shift better than the original Dura-Ace cassette. One thing I noticed is having this thing like this, it just feels faster, and having it feel faster makes you want to ride faster as well. Just a few days ago, we did a ride with some of the boys like Tom and James, 100k loop with over 1100 meters of vert, and yeah, those guys couldn't hold me back. Like, every single climb, every single lip, I just wanted to keep hitting it. I ended up with an average speed of about 30 k's an hour, which on a loop of 100 k's with over 1,000 meters of climbing is pretty impressive, I reckon. And yeah, so that's just the bike just egging you on and just wanting to be ridden fast. So yeah, totally different bike it seems. Now I'm gonna go do some testing. Gonna do some testing with the Ghibli to see the aero gains, and yeah, that gets a bit complicated, so we'll have a look at the numbers. Now, a bit of a dive into, like I said, the numbers, how I got to these numbers. Again, if you're not interested in this, you can just skip this section. But yeah, basically using the Ghibli, did lots of sessions before and after the testing. But basically, before the testing, this is a good example of one of the tests. So you can see it's a 3K out, 3K back loop, and basically the CDA the Ghibli spits out was 0.319 meters squared. And again, there's a bit of a headwind and tail difference, but the Ghibli puts that into its calculations, so not a big thing. But you can see pretty small anyway. So before the upgrades, we had a CDA of 0.319, and then after the upgrades, we had CDA of 0.260. And again, the head tailwind calculations are pretty nominal as well. So yeah, you can see all the wind details with the testing and stuff like that. But yeah, that is how the CDA got calculated. Okay, so time to get a bit numbery, a bit stats nerd-ish, if you will, and talk about the actual performance increase. So number one that we talked about was the weight. So the weight went down by 1.6 kilos, which works out to 20% of the weight of the bike. 20% of a bike's weight is pretty crazy. If I could drop 20% of my body weight, I'd be flying as well. But yeah, 20% off the weight of the bike, obviously every climb, that's going to be helping you out. But the second biggest difference, so I did testing with the Ghibli Aero sensor. I did it across multiple days, did everything controlled, all that stuff. In summary, at 40 k's an hour, this is now 47 watts faster. Now, again, I'm going to say the big majority of that is my position on the bike, but again, that position on the bike is brought to you by upgrading the handlebar to a handlebar that fits you. So yeah, I've got 47 watts saved at 40 k's an hour, which is a huge difference. Over the course of a 40k loop, this is now saving me like 4 minutes and 19 seconds.
Then for the Alpe d'Huez stuff, so basically Alpe d'Huez is 12.09 k's long, total climbing of 1,202 meters. I use my own stats, so a 53k rider with in the beginning an 8.2 kilogram bike, and then afterwards a 6.6 kilogram bike, and yeah, the CDA before, the CDA after, and both were done riding at 250 watts. So the way I did this was using this hill climbing calculator from Wolfgang Min, and yeah, just basically putting in all the numbers and seeing what it spat out. So yeah, you can see how much power was due to the climbing, like fighting against gravity, how much is due to air resistance, and all that stuff. Pretty interesting. Like, obviously a climb, the most thing is weight, so you can see we're going faster because basically we weigh less. But it's actually interesting that yeah, the aero watts went down even on a climb where you're doing like, I think this came out to like, yeah, 13 k's an hour. So even at 13 k's an hour, saving 2 watts from aero savings. So pretty cool. But yeah, basically the old setup takes a total of 53 minutes and 49 seconds to get up the Alpe d'Huez, whereas the new setup takes 52 minutes and 10 seconds, giving you a saving of 1 minute 39 seconds.
Okay, now early in the video I hinted at doing these upgrades for free. What was that all about? Can you upgrade a superbike to a hyperbike for free? Now what that was about is, now I've got a big pile of bike parts that I took off the bike. I've got some brand new Vision Metron bars, I've got some shiny Shimano C60 wheels, and I can sell all of these things. So I did some poking around the secondhand bike apps in China and added up how much I can sell these things for. Now this will vary depending on where you live and secondhand prices, which I'll talk about in a minute. But first I'll start with the Chinese prices. For example, the bar, you know, the RRP like 700 bucks, sell it for 350 bucks. The wheels RRP 2200 bucks, sell them for like 1800 bucks. The power meter RRP is 1500 bucks, sell it for 1200 bucks. The cassette RRP 360 bucks, sell it for 250 bucks, and maybe that saddle, sell it for 10 bucks or whatever. Add that up and you get $3,610. $3,610 of selling stuff. I only bought this stuff for $3,400. So that's what I mean when I say this for free. But I know what you're all about to say. Oh, you can't sell things for that much. You can never get that much. But I know. Every market has different prices. Right now in China, there's a cycling boom. You have to pay above retail for a brand new S-Works SL8. There's a boom, supply and demand, people are overpaying. So they were the prices from the Chinese app. I reached out to GC Performance, Grant, my man. I asked him for the secondhand prices of these things in the States, and he gave me some prices back. So the Vision bar, he reckons sell it for $350. The Dura-Ace wheels, he reckons you're going to get $1,100. That's a lot less than China. The power meter, he reckons $850. Again, less than China. The cassette, he reckons $260. And the saddle, he didn't even give me a price. Maybe it's worth looking. If I'm adding up those right, that in America, secondhand market is around $2,570-ish. So again, not as much as the cost of the things, so it wouldn't be for free, but it is a lot of money back in your pocket. You're spending $3,400 on upgrades, you're getting $2,500 back in your pocket, so it means these upgrades are costing you less than $1,000, and for less than $1,000, you're dropping 20% of the weight of the bike and saving 40 watts at 40 k's an hour. That, to me, sounds like a bit of a bargain. So yeah, in conclusion, what have we learned from this? I think the main thing that I learned is just that a complete bike is kind of like a starting point. It's not the end point. So for me personally, all my bikes before this bike, I built them myself, so they've already been built to my specifications and stuff. But I guess the vast majority of people out there, they buy a complete bike, as this Polygon was. And yeah, this whole process has just taught me, like, yeah, when you buy a complete bike, it's not complete. Even when it's a super bike, it's already got Dura-Ace on it and everything. Don't think that it's already at its top level. There's always more potential in there. So that's the first thing that I learned. The second thing I learned is just how much, especially the wheels and the bar, can totally transform the bike. Again, your position on the bike totally changes your comfort and your performance, as we've seen in the numbers. And number two, the wheels just totally change the ride characteristics and the performance of the bike as well. So Handlebar and wheels are definitely the two I'd recommend on a complete bike, especially. It's just about getting something that suits you, fits you, and also suits the roads that you ride, yeah? If your complete bike comes with climbing wheels but you never climb, then get some steep wheels. Or if your bike comes with deep wheels but you're always climbing, get some shallow wheels. Like, completely customize your bike to your preferences. I think that's something that everyone can do. And I think the last thing that we learn is it's not as expensive to upgrade things as you'd think. Now, my situation was a little different because we're selling all those things as like lightly used, you know, just taken off the bike so that you get more value for them. Obviously, Dura-Ace Cassette, if you haven't had it on the bike for like 2 years and you sell it, you're not going to get that much money for it, right? So this will vary by person, but in the grand scheme of things, like $3,500 in upgrades, yes, it is a lot of money, but hopefully you can get some of that money back in selling things. But $3,400 for that much performance, it's not outrageous for people who are actually trying to get every inch of performance out the bike. So like I say, all of these parts, you don't have to use the exact parts I used. Go out there, do your research, get your upgrades wherever you can get the upgrades. This is just me, the upgrades that I chose on our website, pandapodium.cc, but you guys are free to get them wherever you want. If you do want some advice on upgrades though, like go onto the website and talk to us. Our team of guys, we're all bike nerds, you know, we dreamt up this upgrade too. If you want to do something similar on your bike, either send us an email or come chat with us on the website. Let us know what your current bike is, let us know what your budget is, and we'll see what room you've got to improve your bike too. So yeah. With that was a very long video. If you've made it this far, don't forget to give the video a like. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you subscribe. I appreciate that. I'll put links down in the description below to all the parts used on this build so you can go and have a look at them yourselves, add them to your wish list and start saving your money and all that stuff. But yeah, as always, China Cycling out.